So, hi everyone, how are you doing? So, I wanted to just come in and do a quick Facebook Live training and give you some tips that I was actually supposed to do a couple of weeks ago, but didn't get around to doing it. And this is focused on mastering time management in exams. As we know, exams are just around the corner now, starting in about a month's time. And so this is going to be very useful for those year 11 students who have exams coming around the corner, but also for year 10 students as well, who are, ahead in preparing for their exams. So the tips and training that I gave before was on general time management for students. If you haven't looked at that yet, if you're finding your child is overwhelmed with everything that they need to balance, if you're a student who is here when you're recognizing yourself that you're overwhelmed with everything that needs to be balanced, then you're going to want to go and check out that training. But today I want to focus on managing time once you are in the exams, right? Because that's the last time that we have to really pick up those grades. And so I'm just going to share my screen with you. So as I said, the focus is going to be time mastery in exams, and we're looking at how we can master that time to achieve the higher grade. So here's an example of one of our students, May. I think this was last year. He did both maths and science with us. You can see biology, chemistry, and physics, and, picked up those high grades, grade 7. So I'm going to jump in. The first thing is to identify the questions that you are comfortable with. So identify the questions that you're comfortable with. I used to do this when I was at school and I was doing tests. I would always skip through the paper and find questions that I felt that, yes, I could happily do this. And what that did for me was it gave me a boost of confidence. And because I now had a boost of confidence, that now translated to the rest of the paper, because I knew no matter what, I picked up marks, right? So I'll say the very, very first thing to do when it comes to time management in exams, it's really to just identify those questions that you're comfortable with. One of the key tips there, though, when we're doing this is to look, where possible, find questions that have higher marks, because it's all well and good, picking questions that are like 1 mark. But if you're able to look for questions that are 4 to 6 marks that you're comfortable with, then you're going to gain more of that, right? So really, really essential for really getting that confidence boost and starting off strong and starting off right. The second thing is to read the question properly. So how does reading the question properly link with time management? Well, because when you read the question properly, you know what the examiner is asking. And so the time you're going to spend crafting and writing that answer, it's going to go to good use, because your answer is for that question. If you're not reading the question properly because you're all panicky and you spend 5 minutes crafting an answer, you've written a beautifully nice answer, but it wasn't actually for that question, right? So it's very, very important to read the question properly to help manage your time in exams. So when you're reading the question, look for any hint that has been given by the examiner, any keywords, key terms, that kind of thing, okay? And as I said, it means that your answers are going to be concise and to the point. The third thing we want to do is we want to allocate 1 minute per mark. Now, that doesn't mean every minute we need to be checking the time. But in general, an exam question might be 8 to 12 minutes, right? Let's just say it's 10 minutes. It means at the end of that question, you might just have a quick look and go, have I spent 10 minutes on this, right? Or 12 minutes or 8 minutes. Or even if you'd really focused and zoned in for 20 minutes for like 2 questions, you just check, right? And so that way you sort of know you are on track and you're not spending 10 minutes for two-minute question, for instance. And the second thing for that is if it is a 1 minute question and a 1 mark question, you don't want to be spending 5 minutes or 7 minutes on it, because that time could be allocated to questions that have more marks. Number 4 is to attempt difficult questions. So provided that you've actually done as much as you can do, provided you've focused on the questions that you're comfortable with, then the questions that you find a little bit difficult, you want to read them, reread them, review them, and just try and attempt them, because a lot of the time those difficult questions are the ones where you get a bit more marks. So it might be 1 6-mark question, or it might be an entire set of maths question that ends up being a 10 or 12-mark question. Go back to it, read it, try and understand the key terms, and that would help you pick 1 or 2 marks, because I cannot tell you the amount of times year after year I speak to students and they say, and it gets me as well, especially students that have worked so hard, that, are capable. I got a grade 6. Well, how many marks were you away from a grade 6? I was 3 marks away from a grade 6. So annoying, right? So these little things really helps us to get those marks. And that's why I am always going on about, it's not just about content, right? Anytime, if you listen to, whenever I do these lives and I come and give you tips, it's not, many people, even in today's day and age, think that it's about the content, right? It's about learning the content, but it is not just about the content. But yeah, it's not just about the content. It is about all of the skills that you need to know. Like the other day I'm getting sidetracked as usual. The other day was writing an email to parents and talking about the different skills that students need to know. And there's just such a long list of skills. So that's, really, really, really important, because when you do attempt that additional question, you now have an opportunity to pick up marks. Number 5 is you need to plan long answer questions. This is especially so for science rather than maths, right? For biology, for chemistry, for physics. Because long answer questions can make students a bit panicky. And the best way to remove that panic is to break it down, right? So that 1 6-mark question, extended question, could be in 1 or 2 different parts, in 2 or 3 different parts. So that's the first thing, is you want to break it down. And then from that, you can plan, how am I going to answer this question? So it might be a comparison kind of question, an evaluate type of question, right? Then you can draw tables, similarities and differences. Oh yeah, if I write 3 points here, 3 points there, that's going to help me pick up those marks. Or I can just jot down the key information based on having read that question properly. I can pick up marks as well. So really, really important to plan the questions. We do have some training resources actually on how to plan long answer questions, if that's something that you're interested in. If your child watching this or you're interested in and you are a parent, just message that, put that below in the comment. Finally, you need to review your answers. So like I say, many students usually miss a grade by a few marks. Reviewing your answers is so important. I was one of those students that, I don't know what it is, but I always seem to have time at the end. I probably wrote really fast, but I never, because there were students who, or, you know, when they finish, they just finish, they just ignore the paper. I never did that. I always went back and, you know, until it was time to leave. And it always surprised me how many, you know, what things I had missed because I was kind of maybe rushing through those papers. So very, very, very essential that we actually review the papers, even if we're finished, to make sure we're not losing out on marks. We're not missing on any grades. So that's pretty much everything. So these are just the quick tips I wanted to leave with you. In summary, first, identify questions you're comfortable with. Second, read the questions properly. Allocate 1 minute per mark. Number 4, attempt the difficult questions where possible. Plan those long answer questions. So plan your answer to those long questions, and essential to review your answers. And a bonus tip is make sure you know the format of the exams, which students should really know this, but for instance, if you're doing, that should say combined science, not combined science, it is going to be 6 paper. Each paper is going to be worth 16, around, you know, 17%. In the first paper, these are the topics that they're going to go through. This is how long the paper is. It consists of a multiple choice, short answer, you know, but by that time, if students are practicing questions, they should know the format to exams. So again, here's another one of our students. This is Emerald, that worked with us, and, you know, she ended up achieving those high grades in science. So this wasn't even during the exams. This was before, when she was doing the tests, when she was doing like mock test and that sort of thing. So yeah, this is an example of, you know, one of the students, one of the many students that we've helped. So if you think that you want some support with helping your child with time management, especially if maybe your child is in year 10 and they're planning towards their exams, or even year 9, or just general support with content, just leave a message in the chat below and we will get back to you. All right, I really hope that was helpful, and I shall see you soon. Thanks. Bye for now.